as the market has changed, this is why I'm excited working with young guns like yourself.
Would you rather sit on the sidelines and watch everybody else go out and flip houses, or would you rather invest money in your first deal and lose a couple bucks? Because I would tell you that's more valuable than a college degree.
Got to meet big game James Murray over at the Lyon Property Management Group. He got in property management. Now he's doing sales and rentals, flips, seminars. He's encumbering all things real estate, and I think it's really good for the next generation of guys that are coming through. All right, everybody, Dan Balkun here from Balkun Title and Closing. We are doing something much different today. We're bringing in the man, the myth, the legend, Jimmy Murray of Lyon Property Management. Jimmy, good day. How we doing, sir?
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man, thanks for sitting down. So what got you into property management, real estate, investment, flipping? Like, what was did you have a mentor? And we'll get into mentors, because that's big with me as well. And, you know, we've always talked about that's an important part of any business.
Mentors and coaching are huge. And I'd love to dive deeper on that, because I think people would kind of lose their mind with what I'll spend on coaches this year, but it's totally helpful.
So tell me how James got into the business in 2015.
I always want to go into real estate. So like I graduate high school and I get a letter that I guess I wrote to myself in 6th grade, and it's like, all right, so what stocks do you own? What college baseball team are you playing on? And like, how many pieces of real estate do you own? And I was like, oh shit, in 6th grade I was thinking about this stuff.
Yes.
But honestly, came out of college in 2010 and I realized how fucking good it was then, right?
Yeah.
I bought my first 4-family for $140,000. My dad told me I made the biggest mistake of my life.
Yeah.
That was scary. The shit that I didn't know back then that I know now, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Like trial by fire is the game. Obviously coaching and mentorship is huge, but you have to get out and take action. If you don't take action, you're not gonna go anywhere.
It's like the Jordan theory, right? How many shots do you have to miss in order to make one?
Oh,
like,
hell yeah.
You gotta take the big shot.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, 2 months into owning my first multifamily, it almost burnt down. So, story for another day, story for another video series. But
my disaster too on my first flip. Yeah.
I've been through it. I've been through it. But that's where you learn. That's where you gain the most insight in order to propel you to that next level of success.
So, graduated college, what type of degree? Did you have a business degree?
Finance. But honestly, you get a degree in finance, you can go down to Foxwoods, play a couple table games, you'll figure out the same stuff. Maybe a couple different formulas, but
numbers and numbers and numbers and
numbers.
numbers.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah. So, all right. So, in the baseball career?
So walked on to amateur league team out of high school, played for a season. Yeah. Then got into some extracurriculars. We'll leave that alone. But it was a lot of fun.
I think we all did, right? I think we all, even the guy behind the film today, played some baseball too. You know what I mean? So
no doubt.
It's I think it's a boyhood dream always to play sports first and figure everything out afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, like even taking my little guys to the Little League World Series a couple weeks ago, like I was like little kid on Christmas, like walking around me like, this is Williamsport.
So 2000, you buy the first property. 2015, you decide to get all in, right? So who, why, when, like who was that person? What was the reason that you jumped in? Because there's a lot of people out there right now going, man, I want to buy my first 4-family. I want to buy my first duplex. I want to buy something of value. You know, we always talk about generational wealth, and I don't think that's just buying property as generational wealth either. There's a whole story behind that. But who was the first person you looked at and said, man, I think I can do it?
That's a great question. So I'm gonna pivot a little bit on that one. So bought the first one, got into wholesaling, and I thought I failed at wholesaling. I just didn't do it long enough, right? So then, a lot of you guys listening in probably know Patrick Bet-David, right? So years later, I found this out. But at the end of Patrick Bet-David's book, Your Next 5 Moves, he has a Punnett square of what you're driven by. So I'm driven by madness. If somebody tells me that I can't do it, I'm going to fucking do it. So I had a manager at Fidelity who told me I was fucking average repeatedly in one of my year-end reviews. And at that point, like I was trying to dig my tunnel out of Shawshank, as I would call it. So dig my tunnel, save the money at Fidelity, and then buy more multifamilies. Caught the bad review after I thought that I had a pretty good half or full year that year and should have got a better bonus. And I got a shit bonus. Walked back to my cubicle, text my former partner that I own Lyon with, and I was like, we're launching a fucking property management company. And he's like, can we grab a beer first? And I'm like, well, I'm doing it no matter what. So you
I'm
let
on the
me
Secretary
know.
of State website right now. Like, literally.
So we grabbed the beer at Tavern 12 over here off of Post Road. And the rest is kind of history from there. But it was a slow build. Like building a business is slow. So I've heard actually a couple folks on our team, they've quit their jobs to chase real estate full time. And 2 of them have gone back to get 9-to-5 jobs so that they can buy their first multifamily because now they have the income. But also build that nest egg that they can work off of as they build the book. Building a book takes time. So when I quit my corporate job, I had 6 figures of cash in the bank, and I had a steady $3,000 a month coming in, like that I could bet on from the company.
And that is different than how most people would perceive it. They would just only see you on video. They see you doing bus tours now. They see you doing not even the finished work at this point. We're just still, I always talk about we have to start with the foundation first, right? You have to. You can't build a house from the roof down, right? So if you don't have a solid foundation, failure is imminent. It really is.
Right.
Hearing your story, but even before that, to get to the 6 figures in the bank, you had to listen to bad reviews from your employers. You had to tell people that, oh my God, real estate isn't that great right now.
All the time.
Right. And so if somebody just keeps coming with it, that negative energy is just going to continue to breed negativity, right? So you walked in.
Think about this, right? So I think this is the point where you're out in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
But like, I'm back in Rhode Island at this point, and there are hundreds of foreclosures on the market. Like, more foreclosures on the market than there is inventory in the market right now. And I'm literally going through every shithole I can find in Pawtucket, dragging my realtor. Shout out to John Boss, I appreciate you. But honestly, like, that's how you do it. Everyone's telling me, like, dude, you can't make money doing this. The market just tanked. We're in the worst recession since the Great Depression. Right?
I actually made more money in the down. Well, actually, I made other people a lot more money because I wasn't Balkun Title back then. But I worked for other companies, and distressed property became my game.
So think about this,
sales, foreclosures, all of that.
It's just like, so you're talking about my story, but look at yours, right? You worked as an integrator or entrepreneur in somebody else's company. You're like, oh shit, I can do this. Like, you can leverage that as a learning opportunity, right? Like, don't screw them over, but find a badass entrepreneur that you want to work with and go help them, provide value. Like, literally, that's why Frank Souza's upstairs right now. He's been running with me for 3 years. He still hears crazy stories that he's never heard before. If you want to get into real estate, find somebody that you can provide value to and build with them.
It's a hard challenge to get people to work for nothing.
Yes. Yeah, man.
And if you think about that, because we all need to pay. We all need to pay the rent, the mortgage, the childcare, the food, the gas. So if you're in a position where, I don't have 6 figures in the bank and I don't have this abundance of wealth or a start, this is where you come. This is what we've been talking about. I'm willing to put the olive branch out there to anybody. You want to learn, jump on board, and I'm sure you're the same way.
Dude, think about it. I mean, I don't know how your business runs, but if you want to come to Lyon and say, hey, listen, I'm willing to do the grunt work, whether it be to, gut an apartment, clean up trash. Frank Souza started with us doing inspections. So he would go out and do the monthly inspections. He'd get paid X amount of dollars per property as he drove around, everywhere, all the way down in Westerly, all the way out to Fall River, all the way up to Mansfield, right? Every weekend. He'd spend 6 hours every Saturday. And now he's our integrator in the company. Like, I don't know what I would do without Frank.
And I started
small stuff.
Same thing here, 12 and a half years working for attorneys. I learned from, and I mentored, and I learned, and I mentored, and I learned, and I mentored, and then finally in 2016, voila. Balkun Title, and that has its challenges as well. But you still have to fight through it, and you have to continue to keep evolving and making new relationships. And also, as we talked about off camera, just talking about helping people for nothing in return, it comes back to you automatically, right?
If there's one golden nugget, like Danny, you should repeat that is the golden nugget. Offer someone help and expect nothing in return.
So Jimmy, one thing that's like obvious to me, but maybe not to the outside world that gets to see you. They think that you're pigeonholed. They thought back in the day, they all thought I was just distressed property, Dan. I couldn't do title. So I would take all these files in for short sales. And I was like, I'm really good at title too. I do great closings.
Oh, dude, if you can do a short sale, you can do.
Right, but what they would do is they'd give me I'd call it the shit short sale. I'd get them their paycheck, and then they go, oh no, you're not going to do the buyer because I use this person. I'm like, what are we doing?
Right.
Yeah. So I've recently seen the transition in you, and this is what makes me wanted to kind of come in today and talk about it, because I don't want to pigeonhole you just into the property management guy. You're not just going and cleaning toilets and freaking fixing ACs every day, right? No. So I see that you're doing more real estate sales, you're doing some coaching, you're doing a bunch of different things. So maybe tell the people out there that just think that Jimmy's this straightforward like gangster when it comes to like property management, how good you are at other things, because if you don't tell them, people aren't going to know.
So honestly, biggest thing where that comes from is I've been a part of a couple mastermind groups. And we started talking about core values and vivid vision. So if you guys haven't picked up the book, Vivid Vision, go pick it up. That's how you're gonna be able to lead a team at a much higher level. Lyon Property Group has become a vertically integrated real estate investment company. So it's not just property management, that's the core business. We realized that we had a strength in terms of renovating distressed properties, so we built a property flipping business. We built relationships with wholesalers, and now we renovate We typically renovate 12 to 15 houses a year and do very well on the flip side. Well, the next natural vertical integration is let's build a retail sales team. Our retail sales team is on pace to generate $25 million in sales this year, in one of the worst markets in terms of inventory, I would say, on record, essentially. Like it's
inconsistently low. Like it's been like 3 or 4 years now.
Right.
Yeah.
So vertical integration is how do you build out a different segment of your business, a different pillar that complements the existing business there, and that's what we're wholeheartedly focused on.
Yeah.
That's what I've been working to build out. So we've got a team of 5 retail sales agents currently.
Nice. And I always talk about irons in the fire. You know, it's like you can't just be property management. Like for me, I can't just be title. I have to do education. I have to do, seminars. I have to do other things outside of just closing loans.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, I become stagnant, right? And then I don't grow, and then I don't meet great people, and we don't cash flow. And, we have all of these things that happen in our lives that, again, the worst thing that can happen when you're an entrepreneur is being pigeonholed into thinking like, oh, all he does is this.
Right.
Because then it doesn't open up any opportunity. And now that you're doing that and you're expanding, like the platform is built, right?
Let's dive deeper on that one, because we're talking about, honestly, this is almost like life cycle of an entrepreneur, right? Like how do we leave the corporate gig, get into the entrepreneur role, or build a company that you want, and then not be pigeonholed, right? We're talking about a whole life cycle here. So you got to grow the 1,000-pound pumpkin. So if you haven't picked up The Pumpkin Plan by Michael Michalowicz, I'll just keep recommending books as we say.
Yeah, this is perfect. I'm taking mental notes too.
You got to grow a 1,000-pound pumpkin one at a time. Grow the 1,000-pound pumpkin, automate it, move to the next one. That's how you vertically integrate companies. Yeah. That's how you are going to have a massive impact on your community.
Right.
That's what it's about.
See what I mean? It's not all pretty face and like, all cash and checks over here. This guy is educated. He's in the trenches. He's working hard on a daily basis. Those are the types of individuals that you want to surround yourself with if you're going to go ahead and continue to make progress in what you're trying to do. The property management game is like your bread and butter, right? That was the original true baby. Like Balkun Title's my baby.
Right.
So where do you see the property management division going? And like, are you trying to get to 1,000, 2,000, 10,000? Are you trying to take it nationally? Are you trying to franchise it? Do you see yourself going in any of those directions when it comes to your bread and butter?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the goal is 2,500 units throughout southeastern New England. So right now we're viewing an opportunity to expand into southeastern Maine with a portfolio that we manage. So we have investors we work with down here looking for us to move our office up there. But really, I think it's all a cycle, right? So I talk about driving for show and putting for dough. So it's flipping for show and buying multis for dough. So no matter what we do, as investors continue to generate more income, it comes back to the core business.
Right.
If our retail sales team helps them purchase a multifamily, it comes back to the core business.
Right.
Because you need someone to operate that asset, right? So it all comes down to process. So it's just bolting on an additional process that feeds back into the core business.
And it's great that you say process, because I'm a huge process guy. Like if nothing works without it doesn't work for me.
You can't do it. How can you grow your team?
So talk about a little bit like technology, right? You don't have to talk about the technology that you currently use, but
I'll nerd out. I can nerd out. Yeah.
How important is technology when you're growing a business or CRM? A lot of people don't even have those still. I can't even believe it after all this time in the business. Like I always talk about the dog walker sold 15 houses last year. You know what I mean?
For real though.
Right. So they're not here anymore. And as we see licensing will come November, we're going to see more people drop out. But where does technology fall for you?
I would say number one.
Yeah.
Critical, right? So building the management business, we use AppFolio, which honestly, I've purchased 2 other companies that you leverage different platforms. I don't know how anybody functions off of AppFolio. I need AppFolio to function, right? It's like that drug you're going to take every morning, I guess. Probably not a good analogy, but
coffee.
Also, like coffee. Yeah. You wake up, drink your coffee, you wake up, pop open AppFolio.
Right.
Monday.com. Monday.com is absolutely critical in everything that we do because it literally sends the next push notification to the next person in the business.
Right.
Also, lead comes in. We have multiple follow-up strategies that we leverage Monday.com as a CRM. Multiple follow-up strategies. When that comes in, it kicks out multiple emails. Because most managers, you call them, it's one phone call and click, hang up, never call them again if you don't get hired, right?
Yeah. So inside of that CRM or that management platform, does it also do email? Does it also do follow-up for you? Does it encumber all real estate or just property management in itself?
Great question. So AppFolio is just property management.
Okay.
Monday.com is going to manage a couple different processes across the multiple companies just because it's so easy to store data in there.
Gotcha.
And then like retail sales business, we use Brivity. So we'll keep that one on the DL. Nobody, I think we were the second team in Rhode Island to use Brivity, and Oh no, we were the only team in Rhode Island used Brivity that was currently active. There are 2 other realtors now, and then only 1 other team in Massachusetts. So if you guys are listening to this and you're a realtor, come over here. I'll show you Brivity. Yeah. Your company is probably, I would argue, the most established brand in terms of closings in Rhode Island, right? And you're always willing to speak up about things that you feel passionate about. Yeah. And one of the things that you've been speaking up about are foreclosures and short sales. So where do you think the market's headed as you start to talk about these topics?
Yeah, kind of. Thanks. That's a good question. I mean, obviously, that's my as I was pigeonholed that we talked about back in the day. I was short sale Dan. And then this whole period of time, basically when you started 14 and 15, and then as we started rolling again, it's kind of subsided. And now here we are coming back. I mean, how many properties do you get to see during foreclosure right now? Yeah. How many properties do you see off market? You're seeing a lot more distress, right? You're walking into properties that they can no longer maintain. So, I don't know. Like I thought maybe towards the end of this year we would start to see a little bit of a downfall. But the government stepped in and stopped, COVID Relief Act. They pushed that till the end of next year. So I don't know. I kind of feel like we're right here, Jimmy. It's I don't think we're going to go up. I don't think rates are going to really go down. We have governmental problems with spending money. So if you're going to continue to spend,
putting it lightly,
if you're going to keep spending, we're not going to take down anything,
right?
So the war, inflation, product, all of that is still staying at a high rate. The jobs reports, they're okay. But the 10 million people that were laid off for COVID they're all going back to work. So as they want to glamorize it to me, I think we're headed towards something, we're not in recession. We were never in recession. I think we're going to be in a recession at some point. And that's going to bring up opportunity. That's for the people that are going to be listening to you and I speak. They're going to be looking for our tutelage. They're going to be looking for our mentorship. They're going to be looking for a soft land, and so to say, where, God, we are the 2 or we're 3 or 4 people that you can always go to that will always give you the direct line of action. As the market has changed, this is why I'm excited working with like young guns like yourself, right? James Murray, the Vargases of the world, the Mosses of the world, people that we're seeing that we didn't see 10 years ago in my industry, now the up-and-comers. That's why I like the mentorship. That's why I like sitting down. That's why I like giving as much information as I possibly can. Because these young guns have it. You guys are doing it better than anybody's ever done it. I'm telling you. I saw it in 07 and 08 and 09. The amount of, I think 2 things. 1, the education's there for you guys. You have good mentorship. And 2, technology is so much different 15 years later than it was back in those days. And I think we're ahead of the curve. We're starting to see it curve. Me, I got flatlined in 07. I thought the market was unbelievable. I got in 04. By 08, it was completely gone. I lost 90% of my business. I've been on record for saying this. So as the young guns come through, all the Christian Vargases, the Jims Murrays, the Mosses, the Kyle Sabos, like this is a whole new generation of wealth that's being delivered, but also some really good mentorship. You guys have learned at such a young age that most people could never even fathom.
One of the biggest things that I've noticed watching over the years is that you're big on marketing and branding. So somebody starting out, like, how would you direct them on how to develop a quality brand?
Yeah, small baby steps, right? You can't win. This race isn't won in a year, 2 years, 3 years. I branded other companies that I worked for, other attorneys, and then finally when it was my opportunity, I really took a little bit from each of those companies. I worked for 3 attorneys over the first 12 and a half years, and I took what I liked and didn't like, took what I liked and didn't like, took what I like and didn't like. Yep. But at the end of the day, real estate should be a happy transaction. Yes. Some person's receiving a check, some person's receiving keys in a property, some people are, so the brand for me was like, why come to the closing? I remember seeing there and like, I've been in the offices where the attorney is almost dictating the closing to the client and they're the first time home buyer and they're sitting there in like this shell. Yep. And so, changing the direction of real estate is really what I wanted to do.
I think I see more Balkun title pictures on Facebook than any other closing company. Not throwing shade at anybody else, but I mean
and I think nobody
that's
really wants
to, you've made it fun, right?
You have to spend money too. It doesn't come without a cost.
That's it.
But you have to reinvest in yourself. And that's what you do very well. That's why you're growing an organization.
I appreciate that.
I have to continue growing Balkun Title for the future generation. My daughter just started law school. She wants to be in real estate.
That is so cool.
So like I have to continue, whether it's your kids, like my kids, we have to continue to evolve. But honestly, I try to make it, 1, no receptionist at my office. I've always said this, the gatekeeper can be the worst thing for a company.
Yep.
When they come through and like the gate, you might do 100 transactions with me, Jimmy, and you're like, get excited, you're bringing your clients and you're like, wait, we're gonna take pictures and the step and repeat, we're gonna be in the house, you know?
Yep.
And all of a sudden they come in, they're nervous, and then the gatekeeper's like, hi, Jimmy, yep, they'll be with you right away. And like all of a sudden everybody just sits in the lobby in the waiting room and it's dead silent.
Yep.
You know, I like people, as you know, you've been there. You come walking through, you go
I remember my
into the
first
back.
time through. The attorney was in your conference room, and I'm like, "Is Danny here? I've never met him before."
Yeah,
And he's like,
yeah.
"Oh, just go walk down the hallway." I'm like, "Really?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, just go find him."
I want it to feel like, so when you're bringing clients in, it's your house too.
Yep.
You know, you come in, people come in, it's Pizza Fridays, like I order
Yeah.
pizza, it's like they're coming in, there's diet, they just go in the refrigerators, they're coming back saying hi to the girls. That interaction is what I've always wanted.
Culture's huge.
Yeah, culture.
But I think like one thing that you hit on, one thing that you said, just so I want to emphasize is, I love Alex Hormozy. So I don't know if you're familiar with, anybody listening is familiar with Alex Hormozy, but he's like, the reason why you guys are losing is because you're playing in hours and days and weeks, and I'm playing in fucking decades.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, Danny's talking about his daughter going to law school. Like, that is decades,
Decades.
maybe, hopefully, centuries, right?
And she hated the fact that I used to make her come in at 8 and 9 and 10 years old and make her scan documents and put stuff into the CRM.
Yep.
I'll never do this, Dad. This isn't, well, I'll never want to date anybody that dresses like you. I don't want to be in this business, you know, and things change. So your influence on your children are very important too. You know, your
huge.
family life and what you do to others is virtually as important as you think it is, because you and I can sit here and talk about where we are at this point, you know, but nobody's going to take back that 8 years. If they saw Jimmy Murray when he first started, if they saw Dan Balkun, like I was like, I was always good at sales. I'm a people person, so I'm always easy. I can draw and attract, you know. But if you don't have any substance behind it, what do you have? You know, so you build stability in a brand.
That's another Hormozy thing. Like, you got to build your stack of undeniable evidence.
Yeah.
If you have no evidence and you haven't built anything, like, what are you going to attract?
Yeah, you're going to attract.
But baby steps are huge.
Yeah.
Right?
And people, and if you're looking at Jimmy and you're looking at the other guys out in the industry right now that are being successful at it, it doesn't happen today, tomorrow. It's generational. It's decades.
Yep.
You know, and we are still growing. You know, if you stop growing and you stop reading and you stop educating or you stop mentoring, like I find mentorship in some people that they'd go, how? Why? Because I attract to them. You know, and they nobody else may like them, but that's okay with me because then they're not sharing any of that with anybody else.
Everybody has an opportunity to teach us something.
Yeah.
Could be somebody you're sitting next to in the airport taking a flight, right?
Yeah.
Like, anybody.
Your ears always have to be open. Don't think you've got it. Just because, listen, I didn't ask you this, but have you ever had a loss?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. How many property? I mean,
I don't think I can spoil this because this is going to come up at the axe event in a couple weeks. But no. All right. If you don't have any losses, you're not playing fucking hard enough.
Right.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Right? You were talking about Michael Jordan missing shots.
Yeah.
Like, he's gonna miss shots. They're gonna lose games. Shit's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So if you guys don't have a loss yet, you're not playing the game hard enough.
My first flip, I lost $90,000. I got caught in between 07 and 08. Literally in 6 months, the property went from X to 0, and I was fucked. I guess you could say.
My first flip, I had a money partner, and he stroked a check to a contractor that he liked for 30 G's, and the dude dipped. That was our margin. Yeah. And then from that on out, it was literally a Cops episode every night in Central Falls on Foundry Street, where the prostitutes would kick in the side door and sign their name in lipstick on the window.
So what I saw in 2007 and 2008 and growing into 9, 10, and 11 is the margins started to come down. Because when you started buying in 06 and 07, the margins were there. It's kind of like I feel like when we got in 20, 21, do you feel, you know, there are more people that want to learn how to do this, right? They want to be the flipper floppers.
Yeah.
They want to have doors, as we call them.
Yep.
You know, what I saw last time, and maybe you can weigh in just a little bit because you're on the streets and you're seeing it and you're knocking on doors yourself. Do you see that with the amount of people that are coming into the industry wanting to do exactly what you're doing? Do you feel like that's going to take away some of the profit, or maybe the what's the word I'm looking for? The margins on the house? Because what happens is the guy that comes in, you say it's $100,000 house, but there's a guy that's willing to pay $170.
I mean, I was
thinks
literally
he's going to make $200 on the house. You know,
literally,
what I mean?
like shout out to Neek Holmes. Like, I was going back and forth to Neek yesterday.
Yeah.
On an opportunity. But you see these folks that come in, they overestimate the after repair value and they underestimate the repairs. right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've flipped. I mean, I was looking at the numbers because we had big game number 16 come out. So for the course of the year, 16 different properties that we flipped. We know what the numbers are. So when these guys come out, it's like, hey, listen, you're going to learn. Right. But I think there's, like, people talk about the Amazonification of America. We have this HGTV-ification of property flipping. Yeah. Well, I saw it on TV and Lovely Bones ripped down the whole fucking house and lost 30 G's. Like, but on the flip side of that, you talk, no pun intended, you talk about losing money on your first deal. Would you rather sit on the sidelines and watch everybody else go out and flip houses, or would you rather invest money in your first deal and lose a couple bucks? Because I would tell you that's more valuable than a college degree. Yeah. Because you went out and did it, and you had to build the relationships with the folks to go in and get the hard money, right? Close the deal, work with contractors, work with the realtor to sell it. Right. You're learning fast and furiously, right? So do you want to sit on the sidelines, or do you want to lose a couple bucks? Yeah. I would want to lose a couple bucks to at least get my feet wet. But people are dramatically overestimating the after repair value and underestimating repairs, and it's crunching margins.
So that, and I see as more goes on, that's what I saw in the 07, 08, 9, and 10 days. Like the values caught up and the margins came down. Yeah. And I saw a lot of people not making money.
What is it? Warren Buffett says, bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered.
Yeah. So I'm surprised that you even sat down with me today, right, Jimmy? Because
dude, I respect the shit out of you. I gotta take it.
Because we had a conversation at a closing, and I looked at something that you guys were closing on, and I mentioned the fact, like, hey, this might not be the best of property. So, you took that, probably said, F Dan.
I did. Yeah, I did. Walking out to Tyler and Frank. So.
Yeah. So here we are, like a couple of years later. How'd you end up doing on that property?
So we made $83,000 on that flip. But honestly, like, Dan wasn't the only one. This was 2021. Yeah, when the market started sliding. Honestly, the market traded sideways for a bit, and there were two other flips that we made $4,000 and $7,000 on. Like, did not do well.
So there you go.
But honestly,
I blessed this one then.
yeah. But like, we had a contractor that came out and told us it was going to be a $225,000 repair budget, and I'm like, no, it's going to be $100,000. So we scrambled. We found the right contractor. We've worked with this contractor a bunch. You'd have to kill me to get his name, so don't ask.
If you could just share your guys with me.
It was
that you're going to have to find for yourself.
It was a $103,000 rehab.
Wow.
Right? So we ended up doing real well. But honestly,
so that extra 80 would have been the 200.
Yeah, right. It was right there.
Yeah.
But we sold that for $340, but literally the market's moved, where we would sell that for $400 today.
I know.
So, like, that's the dangerous part. Some people right now in this market think they're really fucking good, but they're lucky. And sometimes it's better to be lucky than to be good.
Yeah.
But eventually it's going to bite them in the ass. Because the market's not always going to go up.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about. Yeah. Like, the market...
It's eventually going
The market is teeter-tottering. Could it go up a little bit?
Yeah.
I think it has more probability of going down, correction, 10 to 20%, than it does going up another 5 or 10%, to be honest. So, in the conversation that I had with Dan at the closing table, I thought it was like a hip check. Yeah. But, like, I needed it. So, I'm just going to keep throwing out book recs. Like, Ray Dalio, Principles, 500-page banger. Talks about radical accountability. If you're in the room and people aren't saying shit like that to you, one, you're not winning at a high level, and two, you're in the wrong fucking room. Like, people need to have those conversations.
Yeah. And I talk about those things not because I'm like banging on somebody. Not
I wasn't upset.
Well.
I was like,
thank God.
What am I missing?
Maybe it made you rethink it though. Maybe you went from the $200,000 contractor to the $130,000 contractor, and hey, high fiving and kissing babies.
No, honestly,
and put a great product out there.
It's super important, right? There are numerous stories throughout history. But if you're in a room where people are constantly yesing you and giving you the pat on the fucking back, you're in the wrong room. Yeah. When we're sitting at the closing table and he's like, you're going to eat shit on this one, I'm like, all right, what am I missing? I'm looking at Tyler, I'm looking at Frank, I'm like, what are we missing? Yeah. You've got a ton of street cred. Yeah. I'm like, okay, where did we fuck up? Right? All right, well, we're gonna run the play and see where it pans out. Yeah. We ran the play and we did okay. But if the market turned, we would have been hosed.
I'm almost like the nervous dad for the guys, like the new guys. You know what I mean? Like, because one, I have experience myself. Two, I have lent money to flippers and guys that are coming up in the game, and I've seen them make mistakes. So like, anytime I get my hands on somebody that could be like, I know you're doing well, and I can see like the snowball has already started going quicker. A lot of people are still pushing it up the hill. Yep. You've kind of got it to that little peak now, and like sometimes it runs really fast. Yeah. So that's why, like, old man Vegas over here, sometimes coddles a little bit, and maybe it's not the best time to talk about it at a closing table, or and I'm wrong. Sometimes I can be wrong.
I love when people say it. Like, say it. Honestly, people need to hear it. Honestly, our culture is fucking soft, and that's a topic for another day. But honestly, like, people Somebody might need a safe space. I'm like, no, like hit me with it. What am I missing?
Yeah.
Right.
And I've had some people contact me outside. They see my reels or they see the videos like, Dan, you really shouldn't talk about that in this market.
Why?
You're putting fear in people. I'm like, yeah, well, the fucking REITs went from 4.5. Tom Ferry says that rates were going to be 4.5 and they're fucking 8 right now.
Yep.
So what the fuck? You're paying for coaching. If I was paying you $1,300 a month, I'd probably listen to you too.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I always talk about listen to what we hear and not what we see. You know what I mean?
Honestly, though, like that's super important. Like even if you have a coach, if you agree 100% with your coach, you now have an idol, like a false god.
Yes.
Not to go deep on that stuff, but honestly, like you were talking about in the beginning, like before you open up your firm, you took pieces from multiple different people in order to craft the culture and the brand that you wanted.
Yeah.
Just because you have a coach, you don't take everything.
Right.
You still got to take pieces. Maybe you take 60% rather than 30%.
Yeah.
But you still have to gain certain pieces of experience from them to help build what you want.
Yeah. So let's switch from that flipping, flopping in doors and property management. Let's get to the retail side. Mm-hmm. So you recently made a transition over to Here, right? Here Realty.
Yep.
So how did that come along with James, and how did that make a good fit for you and your brand?
James hunted me down for probably like 3 years. So he'd call me once a month and we'd trade marketing ideas, we'd trade marketing strategies. I'm pretty sure he talks a little bit of shit at some point too. Which honestly, like if you talk a little bit of shit, you're gonna catch my attention. I'm gonna be like,
if I'm gonna sit there and stroke your back, it doesn't really.
If somebody comes and strokes my back, like I'm probably not listening to you. I'm gonna yes, you're gonna move on to the next conversation.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna catch my attention if you say something that like one I haven't heard before, something like, hey, you did this, you should have done this. Wait, what? I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to sit down with so many different brokers. Right? And just learn how they run their business. But no other broker that I've sat down with has explained the game on the level that James has. Even in the way that he looks at MLS and the way that he has his MLS set up. First time I sat down with him, he's like, bring your laptop. He's like, I'm going to show you how to actually set up your MLS, show you how to win more opportunities for your clients or find more opportunities for your clients, and show you how to just play at a higher level. And nobody else, like you sit down with brokers and like, I'll give you leads. Yeah. Okay, cool. So you show up and like, what do you get? You get some Zillow leads?
Give you 100% or nothing. Like,
right.
It's
right.
Like, it's like
so not showing shade at other brokers, but like up your game. Honestly, anybody watching this video, go sit down with James Luth. You'll see it.
From a technology standpoint, and I'm sure that's what you're talking about, like he friggin' dials that in.
Oh, he's a fucking nut.
He's crazy about it. Yeah, he's good.
Like
I've known James for back in his Keller Williams days, and we work together now, and he said I sat down and looked at some of that too, just like because I like to hear what other brokers are doing, and wowed me.
Well, honestly, it's marketing, right? So here's the biggest part.
101.
So many people say, I'm not going to call out brokers here, but I'm going to go hang my license here because they have a good brand. Well, what's your brand?
Yeah.
Who knows you? Right? Honestly, your broker really doesn't mean much. That should be your first coach and mentor, wherever you hang your license. And obviously, it's going to be financially competitive. But then, like, how are they going to help you build your marketing game?
Right.
I've got a $50 million marketing blueprint that I've been leveraging for the last 2 months, or maybe 6 weeks. I pushed out a post for one of our realtors on our team. He got 30 buyer leads, legitimately 30 leads of people who are now working to get pre-approved. I think 10 to 12 of them are pre-approved right now. I've got a new guy that was in my office this morning. He's coming back into the real estate game, just quit his very lucrative corporate job. And I'm like, hey, dude, you pushed out this post. I know you're super uncomfortable on social media. Yeah. Why don't you go and follow up in this method? He landed a buyer lead last night. He's like, I figured I'd follow up with 7 people per day from that post. He's like, holy shit, this works. Yeah. Right? So like, find the broker that's going to be a mentor. Find the team leader that's going to be a mentor that shows you how to grow your book.
Yeah, and what I always notice in a down market, where I consider this down because there's just inventory, we're facing rate challenges, value challenges. I'm seeing a lot of appraisals starting to come in light.
I've just started seeing that.
Yeah, so over the last I'd say 4 to 5 weeks, I'd get the calls. Hey, the appraisal came in $40,000 less. The seller doesn't want to take the money. I'm like, sellers, listen, your house is valued probably 100% more than it's ever been, and if you got to take $30,000 less, trust me, do it now. Yep. And don't wait, because as James was talking about, the 10 to 20% correction will come at some point, and then it's going to be too late.
And then we'll be buying them.
And then we'll be buying them. But the other thing is with the realtors, stay away from the race to the bottom. Just because it's 100%, you don't pay a fee, you don't have a commission split. What's the value behind it? What's the value behind it? There are good brokers out there that do 100% with a transactional fee that they come from a background of helping. There are some down there that just want numbers,
Yep.
And that's going to be a tough spot for you, especially if you've only been in the business 2 or 3 or 4 years. You've had some success, you've hit your sphere, and now you're stuck. You know, and now what do I do? Oh, rates will come down, or this will. You can't wait for that stuff.
Right.
If you wait for things to change, the only thing that's going to change is you. And you're probably not, come November, you're probably not going to re-up your dues, because the $1,000 that it's going to cost you, you haven't even sold a deal this year. And so the mentorship, even falling back, you know, I've done a lot of that stuff with Patty. You know, we talked about falling back, get good mentorship, work on a team.
Yep.
What's wrong with, you don't need to sit there and pound your chest about how great you were. You know, the sold.
Well, we have a young realtor on our team. I threw her in the deep end, and she's like, "Holy shit, I've learned so much in the last month." And I'm like, "Holy shit, I have a ton of weight taken off my shoulder to close all these deals, right?" And she's been helping out, and she's learned a ton.
And it's not to be mean. It's not to like not just throw them off. I mean, people get thrown off all the time, but I'm sure working with you, like you throw them off, but it's also like, all right, come back to me and I'll explain to you.
Oh yeah, shit goes sideways. Like, hey, I'm a phone call away.
Yes, you have to be there. So you can't just have, you know, great to have a team of 100, but like if you can't mentor them all, if you can't teach them all, if you can't put them in a great system, these are the things that we're talking about with the CRMs. We're talking about with all the game plans, building that foundation. It's 101, people. Like, it's not difficult. You just have to be willing to maybe put the time in and not grab a paycheck right away.
That's it.
And even if it's part-time, you know, you can still do part-time real estate. That's the great thing about real estate.
Yep.
Not saying you want to be part-time all the time, but to get started, to get the education, to get your tutelage, to get great mentorship, you're going to have to put some time in outside of what you're doing normally. So, you know, I want to thank you very much for sitting down with me, bro. Honestly, it's been a pleasure. This has been a long time coming, and I truly feel like our relationship will continue to grow, you know, because of this, because, you know, you get in the mood with like-minded individuals and good things really do happen. Like, he can mentor me at any day. I'll sit back and listen to James any day of the week because he's raw, he's correct, but he also is well-read. He's educated himself, and he's put the time in at the end of the day to make his business successful. And I find it very hard out there. I've never heard one bad thing about you. So that's a really good thing. That. Now, I've only talked to 2 people, so no. Nice. But, you know, if somebody was to hear you say, but why would you use Dan Balkun, or why would somebody use Balkun Title?
Because it's not a +1 transaction. He's not just there to get you to the closing table and take your money and move on to the next deal. He's there to take care of you, to make sure that your financial transaction is secure and that you're in the right spot. There are so many things that could go wrong at a closing. When you go to Balkun, they're going to make sure that all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted and that your new financial investment is in the right spot. You're in good hands.
I thought the interview went great. Jimmy and his crew are going to be somebody that you're going to want to attach your wagon to, or kind of like, you know, use Jimmy as a mentor. Taking the step back in this industry isn't a bad thing to find what's right for you.